Hello and welcome to Anxiety Hacks. So I'm your host, Kate Hudson-Hall, and thank you so much for listening. Now, this is a platform for people to share relatable and uplifting and also inspiring conversations based on anxiety. And then episodes include people that are going through, struggling with anxiety and talking to us about what different ways, techniques help them to be able to calm themselves down. And then also to professionals who may or may not have had anxiety and what works for them, and also how they help their clients to work through their difficult, stressful, struggling behaviors connected to anxiety. So it's fantastic to have you here. And before we move on, I just want to tell you about my new book that is coming out. Well, that will have come out on the 13th. So it's just come out on the 13th of November. So it's very exciting. So it's up on Amazon. The book is called Anxiety Hacks. It's proven techniques, tools, and tips to calmness. And in the book, I explain and show so many different ways that you can help to combat your anxiety. And there are many different techniques in there. And within the book, I have made a companion course. So you would go and sign up with the companion course. And within that course, it's me showing you videos of how to do each of the techniques. Because for a lot of people, they may not be so easy just to read it, but to actually see somebody showing them how to do the technique is really beneficial. And there's lots of downloadable tables and lots of other information in the course. So it's a free course that comes with the book. So if you're interested, if you hop over to Amazon, type in anxiety hacks, and off you go. So I'm super excited about our fabulous guest today. Oh, say yes. We have the lovely Joelle Rabow Maletis. Now, Joelle is a well-known psychotherapist, military psychology and PTSD expert, should I say. And she has personal experience, expertise, and knowledge about anxiety, as well as many clients who struggle with this every day. Throughout her own challenges, retiring as a professional dancer, Joelle has learned to survive struggles, overcome adversities and trauma, and build self-reflection tools. By working with a wide range of clients and experience, Joelle is able to teach others how to overcome anxiety by sharing her knowledge on ways to release it from the body, recognize the signs, and develop thought-stopping techniques to overcome it. So she joins us today to discuss these with us and to explain more in detail about how we can all learn to cope with our anxiety in fantastic, powerful ways. So Joelle, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, hi, Kate. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm really excited to do the show today.
Oh, it's fabulous to have you here. So tell us. So, as I said in your information there, so you work a lot with people with anxiety.
Yeah.
And so if we can maybe start at the beginning. So if somebody came in to see you that had anxiety, how would you take that forward?
For me, first, it's getting some information from people on where they are in the world, right? What does life look like for them? And it's holistic. And what I mean by that is mind, body, spirit, however people want to identify that. For some people, that's inward, that's their own ego and their persona. For other people, it's how they connect to others or how they connect to their own spirituality or religion. So people can define that piece of themselves however it makes sense for them, right? So this mind, body, spirit, what do they do for work? What does their family structure look like? So really getting this very in-depth picture of what somebody is experiencing on their day-to-day and where they say they're struggling, because it's really not about what I think. It's what somebody says. So when they come
Yeah.
in and they say, "Hey, I'm really having a hard time interacting with people at work. I constantly feel judged. It makes me very nervous. I notice that, I have all of these physical symptoms. Sometimes I feel like I'm having a heart attack. Other times I feel like I'm nauseous. My mind is spinning. I have all of this negative self doubt." So it's like, oh, okay, great. Here's a beautiful picture of, and I say beautiful intentionally, right? This picture of what anxiety is doing and how it's overlaying on this experience. And then, for me, I start with skills. Okay, how do we break that apart? Where's a place that we can start? And I always ask clients, and I don't mean this to sound, dismissive or facetious. I ask, how's that working for you? Right? Because some people will say, well, it gets me motivated. And
Yes.
so, do we want to touch that part then? Because anxiety and excitement is connected, and we know that. So sometimes excitement feels like anxiety. Sometimes, anxiety feels like excitement. So, really trying to understand, our anxiety can motivate us, it can propel us forward, it can
Yeah.
do some amazing things. And so, how do we hold that place for our anxiety when it's working for us? Versus when our anxiety is really kind of taking our knees out, right? And causing us to get stuck. So I'd like to ask people, tell me what you think about anxiety. How do you think it's impacting you? And then skills. And I will do that in the first session. I always want to give somebody a skill to go home and try,
Yeah.
because even when they come back and say that wasn't helpful at all, it didn't work, I'm like, okay, either wrong therapist, wrong clinical technique,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Or there was some mismatch, right? And it could be, I'm the worst client ever. It could be someone like me who's like, I'm not doing homework, like, and I have to be cajoled a little bit sometimes into to trying the skill, because it's so scary. It's scary to make change. It's an easy concept to understand, not simple, not easy to implement, and it's scary. It's scary to make those kinds of changes, right? So I know with me personally, I meet that with resistance, instant resistance.
Yeah.
So meeting clients there and saying, okay, what can we try this for 7 days? It's okay if it doesn't work. It's okay if you forget, right? There's no expectation, because any response gives me information about what we do next.
Yeah. 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 That's amazing. And so it's kind of beginning to unravel that confused, that confusion, and beginning to sort of unravel it and understand it in great detail.
Yeah, for me as the clinician, I think for the client, a lot of education. What is anxiety? How does it work? Where does it form? How do we imprint with it? How does the brain handle it? And, you know, I feel like, again, I'll just speak for myself, right? And my experience with my clients is the fear of the unknown. That in and of itself is anxiety provoking. And
Yes.
so I don't know why I'm anxious. I don't know if it's a physical condition, right? Now I'm even more anxious because I'm worried, and we've got this snowball effect. So sometimes I'll ask clients, have you talked to your primary care? Have you talked to your medical doctor about this? And if not, how about we do that just to make sure that there really isn't anything physical, right, or organic going on. So once we rule that out and we say, okay, no, this isn't organic, this is emotional or social emotional, psychological and emotional, then, okay, let's take a look at that. And knowing a little bit more about anxiety, how does that come down the scale? So if we start our conversation and somebody says, I'm an 8 out of 10, I'm so anxious right now I can't sit in my seat, right? After we learn a little bit about anxiety and we practice a skill together, now where are you? Right? And I'll take a 7.5, honestly. If
Yeah.
somebody's like, okay, I'm a little bit better, that's a win. Some people say, I feel more anxious now. And I go, okay, that's really, really helpful information, right? So we need to do something physical or somatic, right? Or whole body to see if we can lower some of that anxiety. But for me, what drives so much of it is the fear of the unknown. I don't know
Yes.
what's happening. I can't control it. And now I'm more anxious.
Yeah. Yeah. And um, because a lot of it is to do as well with the pattern of the anxiety and those thoughts, because we said in the intro about the thought stopping.
Yeah.
So yes, we love thought stopping. So how would you teach what would you say to your clients about the thought stopping?
Yeah.
Would you
So
explain it?
classic cognitive behavioral therapy or thought, CBT, blah, 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 blah. I'm getting tongue tied
CBT.
here. CBT,
CBT.
something like that, is kind of goes like this. It's a three-step process. Visualize a stop sign. Big belly breath, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Visualize a stop sign. Tell yourself to stop. Stop. Big belly breath in, out. And part 3 is, what do I need to do next? When I start to ask myself why questions, why am I feeling this way? I've pushed myself into process and now I'm spinning because I'm trying to figure out, well, why? Well, why? Well, why? Well, why? So with thought stopping, what I really want to do is stop, visualize that stop sign. 1, 2, stop. Big belly breath. Usually have to do that a few times. What do I need to do next? And then really execute. That's that next piece is okay, do it then, right? What do I need to do next? I need to, call a friend. I need to go out for a walk. I need to write this email. I need to take a break. Whatever it is, then go do. So that's traditional thought stopping. And for me, it's all about the and so what. Not and so what, who cares? So what are we going to do? Right? And I like to add with my clients those big belly breaths in through the nose for 4, hold that for 4, out of the mouth through 4. So this 4x4 breathing. In through 4, hold through 4, out through 4. And then visualize that stop sign. I tell myself stop. And for me, sometimes that doesn't land. So in my process, personally, I'll say, stop, you're being anxious. You're being anxious right now. Stop. Take a breath. So I kind of coach myself through this skill. Stop, you're being anxious. Take a breath. No judgment, just identify, breathe. What do I need to do next? And then go do it.
Right. Right. So that's good. That's really good. And
oh, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was going to say, I think people get stuck because they think that I just have to do it once and then it'll work and I won't feel anxious anymore.
yeah.
And it's not that way. The anxiety may go away and a minute later it might come back up and then we have to do that again, right? The anxiety might come back later in the afternoon. It may be that you have to try this 3 or 4 times in a row. The idea is that it starts to happen less and the skill works faster, right? So we're after better, not perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the way that I work with my clients with the thought stopping is, first of all, it's consciously being aware of the difficult negative thoughts that they're having that are kind of driving the anxiety. And then I would, with the thought stopping, I teach my clients to, when they're aware of the anxiety and those negative thoughts, to shout stop out loud if they're on their own. But if they're not, just in their head, but stop, and then telling that voice to get lost in whatever form you may wish to say it. And then over time, it will kind of creep back in as it does. And then it's being aware that's what it's done again and kind of driving the anxiety and then shouting stop at it and telling it to get lost. And then sometimes I also include then the breathing as well. And but it's very powerful, because the more that you do it, the more that it will help you to feel calmer.
Yeah, and there's so many iterations of how to do this, and that's exactly it, is playing around with it to find something that works, right? Works for
Yeah.
you because it's so individualized. And like you, I'll come back to, okay, what was that negative messaging? What were these core beliefs or things that I believe about myself that leads to that negative voice? Whose voice is it? How old do I feel when that voice is coming up? So I'll use all of those prompts with clients once we're out of the anxiety, right? It's not helpful when we're in it because again, we
No.
just start to spin. But when we have a chance to sit back and self-reflect, whether we do that on a walk and we go out and we think about, okay, what was that about? Now that I'm not in it anymore, or we use it as a journal prompt, right? Being curious, and it really is
Yeah.
not non-judgmental, but curiosity. Okay, what was that about? Why does that keep coming up for me? Whose voice is that? Is that a coach, a parent, my partner, a teacher, myself? How old do I feel when that's coming up? Because there's material there. Usually when I ask people, when that's happening for you, how old do you feel? And I'll make something up. Somebody will say, oh, well, I feel 15. Ah, what happened when you were 15? Tell
Yeah.
me about that. Oh, well, that was the time that I skipped practice for 3 weeks and I got cut from my swim team. Okay, interesting. Let's talk about that, right? So there's usually these underbellies of those voices, right? And those negative messages. These core beliefs of, well, I'm anxious because I have this, call with my boss. And if they don't like my work, I'm going to get fired. So there's that perfectionism piece coming up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's play that out. What happens if you were to get fired? Well, then, my partner would leave me. I would have nothing. Oh, so if you got fired, you would be abandoned. Yes. Interesting, right? Interesting. And if you were abandoned, what does that say about you? Well, it means nobody would ever love me. Ah,
And there it
there.
is. There's that core belief,
Right.
that limiting negative belief.
Right. So that if then, and so these are really good skills and tips for people and listeners to do when they're not in anxiety, right? That it's not helpful when you're in the anxiety to try and do this because it makes us more anxious. But once we're self-reflecting, that if then, if this thing happens, then this thing happens. And we keep chasing that, pulling that thread until we get to that. What does that say
What
about me?
does that mean about you?
Yeah. What does that
What?
say about me? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's usually something I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy,
I
I'm
must be in
incompetent.
control.
Yeah.
I must be perfect.
Yeah.
Or I'm stupid.
Yeah.
That was my very first learning, that I didn't realize that I had a limiting negative belief. I was stupid, that I'd had all my life. Yeah. Yeah. From the age
And
of 5.
and it gets in and it gets in our way, right? It's so subconscious and it's so deeply
You don't
rooted in
realize.
our cellular information. It is at the core of who we are. And and then we self-sabotage and we don't even realize we're doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. For me, I had such a deep-rooted limiting belief that I had no idea I had. It was this belief that I was stupid. My brother was telling me that I was stupid from the age of 5. When I went to school, was taken out of extra lessons for spelling and reading, and that was helping to start to for me to believe, oh, this is me. This is how I am. That I'm not very clever. And then that pattern just continued on. And then when I came to do my big exams, when I was 16, I didn't do very well because this whole part of me was like totally engulfed in the fact that I was stupid and I would never achieve anything. And it wasn't until I did my psychotherapy courses that I learned about limiting negative beliefs. And it's a choice. of working through those, but we have a choice whether we carry on thinking the way we're thinking, or we can choose to change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
I've
and
worked through it.
yeah, and the thought of changing can be anxiety provoking, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had no idea. I didn't understand what they were talking about when they were explaining it to begin with. And then slowly, it was learning about myself, going through therapy and unraveling that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but like we were saying, that so many people have these difficult patterns of thinking that are connected to past experiences, which is what we're talking about. And it's, when you're not in that anxious state, it's starting to open the door to those and understanding them with help and support.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's finding the right technique. There's a lot of stuff out there, and so it may not resonate with somebody. This thought stopping component may not resonate for whatever reason, and so that doesn't mean that it's never going to work. It's finding a way that makes sense to you, whether that's meditation and mindfulness, whether that's listening to a lot of podcasts like this, and you eventually hear it and you're like, ah, okay, that makes sense, right? I click with that. It resonates. So it sometimes is looking for something that is easily accessible and it works, and then it's like, okay, now can I make a commitment to myself to try it again? And I really, really want people to just look at it one day at a time. Can I just try it? Can I just try it again? Can I try it today? Tomorrow's a new day. I may not feel anxious tomorrow. I may not need the skill tomorrow. I don't know. Right? So let's just stay here in this moment, and staying present again sounds super easy. And here's the thing I always like to say during interviews with people, right, is if it were that easy, all your listeners and your clients would be doing it, and my clients would be doing it, and we would be out of a job, right?
Yes.
It's not easy concept to understand. Thought stopping, it's not a difficult concept to understand. It is so excruciatingly painful at times to implement, and allowing that to be okay, right? And staying in that curiosity of it's okay that it's hard. It's okay it doesn't click. It's okay that I don't want to do it. That's all okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tomorrow's another day.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joelle, like you're saying, is it's exploring the different help that's out there
Hmm.
until you find what works for you.
Yeah. Or changing the language. A lot of times, clients come in and they say, well, you know, I don't resonate with my feelings. I don't feel my feelings. Okay, cool. We're not going to talk about feelings then. Like
So,
we could do the work, and it's like, okay, well, when you feel that experience happening in your body, you tell me, what do you call that? Right? People will tell me, oh, that feels like this, or that's that, or well, it means I'm really pissed off. Okay, so let's just go with that. So a lot of it too is being able to lean into people's experiences and just meeting them where they're at in that moment,
yeah,
right? It may be really difficult, and with trauma, it's really difficult for people to say, I feel this way. Because a lot of times people come in and they go, I don't feel, I feel numb. I feel
yeah,
flat. I don't
and
feel.
yeah,
Yeah.
because that's what they've spent years doing, detaching themselves from their feelings
Right.
to
So,
protect themselves.
yeah. So when I say, how do you feel about something? It's kind of an asinine question, right? Because they're like, well, I don't feel. So
Yeah,
sometimes I'll just say, how do you think you're supposed to feel? They're like, well, I'm supposed to be angry about this. Okay. Are you angry? I don't know. Well, let's talk about that, right? People will unravel their own experiences because they have all the answers. I don't have the answers. I very rarely tell somebody something that they never knew before, right? Like all I'm doing is just saying, is it this or is it that? Okay, it's that. Cool. Okay, now is it this or is it that? Like I'm just serving it back up to people, and they're doing those aha moments, right? It's not my job to say finger wagging, right? Oh, this is what's going on for you. They'll tell me, this is what's going on for me. Ah, okay, well, let's try these things. Here's some skills. Let's see if that works.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, excellent. So, Joelle, we're coming to the end of our time here, and I wondered if there was anything else that you would like to add that would um, any words of wisdom, Joelle?
Yeah, so for me right now has been all about the acronym. And so I love my sticky notes. I have them everywhere. And I have acronyms all over that help me stay centered and be present. So this one that is on my computer right now, I actually stole from my amazing clinical director. It's wait, why am I talking? And I love it. Because there are moments where I really have to stop. I feel anxious and it's like, okay, why am I talking? what what is the purpose here? So little reminders for me, so that's something that I've really been working on and working with my clients to stay present. And the other thing is really looking at anxiety from a very different lens than I ever have, and that's curiosity. It's telling me something about my experience, whether that's something I'm about to do, that I have no experience in, something I'm about to do I have previous experience in, or what I really need to do with my body, and how I need to relax my shoulders and my jaw, maybe turn my head, take some deep breaths, put my feet on the floor, right? So for me right now, in my next, kind of anxiety 3.0 adventure has really been about curiosity instead of judgment.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I love that with your sticky notes there.
Yeah.
And also, affirmations, it's finding positive, powerful affirmations and sticking them around your house.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Lots of
Ev-
different ones. That would be nice. I might
yeah,
do that right now.
I there was a time when I went to the local pharmacy, drugstore, whatever it is, and bought the 99-cent eyeliner pencils and lip pencils and all different colors, and would write on my bathroom mirror anytime I saw an inspirational quote or I heard
Oh,
something, and I would just put it
lovely.
up on my bathroom mirror, and then at the end of the week I would take some window
Take it off and
and
then put it up a
take it
new
off,
one.
and then yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. We can all go and decorate our bathroom mirrors now.
Bathroom mirrors, and it helped. And I think part of it was I was trying to rewrite, like you said, that I'm stupid, negative messaging that you had for so long. So some of it for me was trying to rewrite those
Yeah.
similar messaging, and I felt like if I surrounded my space with things that I wanted to become and I wanted to remember, that I would integrate that. And eventually I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not completely, but I'm on that path. So
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Well, that's why I wrote my first book, was to, even though I've been working for years, and to sort of fight against this limiting negative belief of me being stupid, every like once in a while it still like sneaks to the surface. So I thought, right, okay, I'm going to write this book, and that will help. That will help me to solidify the fact that I am not stupid. So
yeah.
I did that, and now I'm on my second book. And so who knows when I'll stop. These little strains of limiting belief is just like keeping me going. Writing my books.
And so that's the silver lining with it, right? And that's what I'm starting to look at, which is the anxiety and the anxiety struggles that I've had. Um, how do I turn those into silver linings? Because I wouldn't be here with the amazing work I get to do if I wasn't struggling with that. And so, how do I reframe that and say, okay, well, I wouldn't be here, right? If I didn't have all of these experiences, good, bad, and indifferent. So, how do I start looking at it from that lens of some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them I'm indifferent to, and they've all shaped who I am today. I'm somebody new tomorrow. And
Yeah,
so, not perfect, but better.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Excellent, excellent. And I think as well, we should all rush out to the drugstore and get our eyeliner pens.
I like
It's my advice for the day.
yeah.
And start decorating our bathroom mirrors for the week. I love that because it's changing your focus. So every time you're in your bathroom and you see that positive, powerful quote or whatever it may be, it's going to get your mind focused on that and help you to just, it's just another little tool to be able to get you into a better place.
Yeah.
Brilliant, Joelle. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for all your advice here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, for all the valuable information that you've shared with us. So thank
My
you.
pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you. So that's all for today's episode of Anxiety Hacks. And before you go, make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you may listen. And of course, maybe if you left us a review, it would be even more fantastic on wherever you listen, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or wherever it may be. So thank you to everybody for listening. And I look forward to speaking to you in the next episode.